made part of each and every application heard tonight. The guidelines and procedures adopted by the Commission are also made part of each and every application. Each application heard tonight is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. The Historic District Design Guidelines have been adopted by the Town of Sykesville in accordance with Article 6B, 8.06a of the Maryland Code and follow the recommendations of the United States Secretary of the Interior. They, Sykesville Historic District Commission, follows Robert's Rules of Order with the exception that the chairperson votes. So tonight we have a couple things on the agenda. The first thing on our agenda is minutes from September 25th, 2024. Have you guys had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Yes.
Is there any questions or comments on those minutes? All right. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Motion carries. Next on the agenda this evening is application 2024-27 for hanging sign at 7550 Main Street. Kevin, can you give us a staff report?
Yeah, so we have the applicants here this evening. They're requesting approval for a new hanging sign for their business at 7550 Main Street. The request is for a 24 by 24 inch, two-sided sign made with black PVC material and digitally printed white and gold lettering along with their business logo. Image up on the screens there. The sign will hang from the existing bracket on the building, which has also been used by the previous two businesses that occupied that retail space. The diagram here shows that the bottom of the sign will be 7 feet above the surface of the sidewalk, which is less than the 8-foot clearance that is recommended in our guidelines. However, the front facade of this particular building makes that 8-foot clearance impractical for hanging signs, and the HCC has approved a lower clearance at this location in the past. The sign will also not project more than 42 inches from the front facade and will be set back at least 12 inches from the curb to comply with other applicable guidelines. Regarding material, HCC guidelines simply states that hanging signs should be constructed of wood, metal, or other appropriate materials. So the HCC is just being asked to determine if the location, size, and materials for the requested business sign at 7550 Main Street are appropriate as presented, or to offer alternative suggestions for any potential concerns. But with considerations given to the clearance difficulties presented by this building, staff would support approval of the application as presented. And then, as always, I included the suggested motion if the HCC agrees with that assessment. And again, there's an image of the sign with the sizes, and then this is the front of the building, so the sign will be hanging right there. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the building. So.
Yep. Is there any comments, questions? What is the material the sign actually made from?
It's PVC.
Acrylic.
And we got it from Shenandoah Signs.
Yeah, they do most
What
of
I
the
had asked is, actually whatever the size of Botanic Girl's sign was beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So they measured and made the sign to that dimension, basically.
Great. Any other questions? Comments? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve application for a hanging sign at 7550 Main Street, application 2024-27.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much for coming in this evening.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That's all we gotta do.
That's all you have to do.
Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Now we're gonna pick up our dinner and go home and relax.
Thank you.
Now you're going to cost me a bunch of money because I'm sure my wife will stop.
Oh,
doing
yes,
this.
that was what I was gonna say. It includes for you guys, but I have for your wife.
She said she saw the baby come in today with the
Yeah,
boots,
I
so.
saw
Yeah, oh yeah. Believe me, I know.
Yeah.
My wife has been scratching her down there.
Sorry about your wallet, so.
Once they stop by, you'll be buying for them or for their kids, so.
We need a men's shop.
Thank you.
So I'm Jeremy, and this is Leah Mara.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thank you so
guys.
much.
Appreciate
Everybody's
you.
just being
Take care.
really welcome. I'm really happy to be part of it.
Great.
We're happy to
Yeah,
have
thank
you.
you. Have a good night.
Have a great evening.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
your dinner.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay.
Enough.
The next
Now we got this guy.
item to discuss this evening is application 2024-28 for the resident altercation at 7344 Springfield Avenue. Kevin?
Yeah, so as you know, so this is an application, or Brian is the applicant in this case, so he will recuse himself from the vote, but we won't make him go sit in the crowd. So the property owner, 7344 Springfield Avenue, submitted an application to complete the following residential renovations at their home. Remove a vinyl window from the rear of the structure and cover the opening to match existing siding. Cut a new opening to install a wooden 6/6 on the north 6/6 window on the north side of the same room. Replace fascia and trim boards with like materials in areas where repair is not possible. Replace the leaking lower roof in the rear of the house with the metal to match the main front porch roof. And install a simple picket fence on the south side yard of the property. The application also lists several other changes that do not require HCC approval, but can be discussed if you guys would like to, including repainting the house using a period correct color palette, and then repairing fascia and trim boards as necessary with liquid wood and wood epoxy, which is just considered routine maintenance. The applicant also provided a more elaborate narrative for each item on the application, which I provided as a supplement to the staff report, but I will refrain from going through for the interest of time, but hopefully I've had a chance to read through that. It was very detailed. So, quick info, the house was built in approximately 1902 from what I could find, and is considered a contributing building in the historic district. And then the relevant info from the guidelines for each item. So regarding moving a window from the rear of the structure to the north side of the same room, and then replacing the vinyl with a wooden 6/6. So it's typically not recommended to change the location or size of a window opening, but leniency can be applied when the opening is not on the front facade of the building. Guidelines mention that inappropriately designed non-original windows should be replaced with appropriately designed ones based on documentary or photographic evidence, and if no such evidence exists, the design should be compatible with the character of the elevation which is located. Obviously this is relevant because he's getting rid of a vinyl window and installing a wooden window. And then when filling the hole left by removing the existing window, the new material should use the existing structure as its principal point of reference. Regarding the fascia and trim boards, so the property owner should refurbish the existing wood siding and trim using appropriate paint or other protective coatings, repair minor deterioration using the appropriate wood consolidant, and then if deterioration is severe, replace only the affected areas with matching wood. According to the application, it sounds like that's what the applicant intends on doing, is repair when possible and then replace when necessary. Regarding the roof in the rear of the house, so when severely deteriorated or repair kind is not feasible for technical or economic reasons, a replacement roof that resembles the existing in size, orientation, color, reflectivity, and other defining characteristics may be used. And although so in this case, the new roof isn't going to match the existing lower rear roof, but it is going to match the defining characteristics of another roof section on the house, so it's not a completely unprecedented, I guess, material to use on the structure. And then the guidelines also mention that metal roofing was common in the 19th and early 20th century, and metal roofing can also be found on a variety of buildings throughout the historic district. And then lastly, the fence. So wood and metal fences exist in the historic district, and they're typically in the side or rear yards, but not in the front yards. New fences and gates should be wood or metal to the height, style, and pattern similar to those that exist in the district. And designing new fences should also be 2.5 to 3.5 feet high with gates sized proportionately. So, with that being said, the HCC is being asked to determine if the requested alterations at 7344 Springfield Avenue are appropriate, or to suggest alternative actions, but staff feels that all requested items are consistent with the Sykesville HCC guidelines and supports approval of the application as presented. And again, there's a suggested motion if the HCC agrees with that assessment. So,
That's a marathon.
My job just got so much
I
easier.
forgot what we should start at the beginning.
Okay, who wants to rip them apart?
yeah.
Please.
Any comments, questions?
I should have brought the window. Maybe a tour.
It's already out.
I've done that before.
Bro, luckily
The
we're
column.
not-
It
Well,
comes in with a big column. It's like you didn't need to bring that. Oh, really? Any questions? That's the rear of the house. Tri-way kind of
Want
route.
to discuss your colors?
I was curious about the fence.
Yeah.
So is it gonna be, I see the sample, there's a fence, I think, across the street,
Yeah.
I think. Is it kinda similar to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some a-hole.
Yeah,
It's
so
mine.
like the Gothic picket style, we'll probably go to every bit of the 42 inches that's allowed because we have 2 dogs and they're kind of crazy.
Okay.
You doing it, is it flat, or you putting anything above it? Like the profile of the picket itself?
Yeah, like I
You're
guess
gonna do the
Gothic style picket.
Straight angle or no?
He's got a big, I
No,
think
it'll have the,
he has a picture of it.
yeah,
He's got a
Is
picture of it.
it?
Yeah, go to the picture.
document 1 of whatever.
Cause I got lost in all the
Specification
Yeah.
section.
Oh, yeah, I've been submitting so much to MHD, I'm just used to,
Yeah.
you submit everything.
Hey, the more the merrier. Make my job a lot easier, so I appreciate it.
You said you're staining it?
We'll,
not even
we'll
doing-
probably do cedar and let it age natural. We could go pine and paint it white if that's preferred. Well, I don't know if we'd go white, maybe a cream, to match the new palette, but,
No, I wanna go in.
you know.
Gotta paint that in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've painted enough picket fences as a kid that I really don't wanna paint this one.
All right, let's, is there a motion? It's a long motion. Matt, you're perfect for this motion.
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. What's the number on it?
Here.
2024-28.
Yeah, I make a motion for application 2024-28, a property at 7344 Springfield, for approval of fence, of relocation of window, of, I guess we don't care about the paint, and,
So
any
the trim
alterations that happen with the building as he, does his renovation towards the back of the house.
Roofing.
And the roofing as well with the middle.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, lastly this evening, is there any staff report?
Yeah, I figured, so since it was brought up, wanted to quickly discuss, or clarify, maybe even just, purview of the HGC on things that are outside of view of public right of way. So they're in the guidelines, and I'm happy to send out sections that specifically mention it, but, it seems pretty clear that in almost all cases, and especially on contributing buildings, that the HGC still does have, or, review power and purview over exterior alterations, even if they're out in the rear or the side and outside of view of public right of way. There was a concern brought up potentially about us not knowing about that work being done. Generally, the way that that's handled is, almost all the work that goes through the HGC either requires a zoning certificate or building permit to be submitted to the town anyway. So that's how we kind of keep track of that work being done. And, if they're doing it without submitting that information, then they're doing unpermitted work, and, we have bigger issues, potentially at that property. Now, there obviously more leniency, can be given on things outside public right of way, depending on how the HGC feels on a case by case basis. But, anything that's in the historic district, and especially contributing buildings, we still review, because, we don't want someone, replacing all the original features on the side and rear of their house with vinyl siding, vinyl windows, just because you can't see it from the road. So if there's any questions, specifically regarding that, I'm happy to clarify, or if you think of questions, shoot me an email. I'm happy to pull out chunks of the guidelines and provide them if requested that, specifically mention this kind of thing. But again, just wanted to clarify that, just so, moving forward, everyone's on the same page there. So.
Great, thank you. All right, any other comments or items of interest that we need to talk about this evening? Violations or anything we've seen?
Is that going to be reflected in some sort of written recommendation, or is that just a?
It's in the guidelines.
It's in the
It's
guidelines.
spaced in separate sections.
Yeah.
So it's not like all in one section, it's just like based on like windows or siding and doors, and so it's per section really.
Yeah, I also know, since I've been on it, we've always kind of said that it wasn't, but I went back and even the old guidelines, there's nothing that excludes the rear or the
Mhm.
sides. We
Yeah.
just,
We just
maybe
did
we're
it less
operating under a different idea.
Yeah, there's sections in the guidelines that say, you know, especially front facades
Yeah.
being, you know, particularly important, but it obviously doesn't say exclusively front facades, and then there's even places that they specifically call out side and rear elevations as you know, pieces that still get reviewed, and, so, like you
Yeah, it
said.
didn't, it would seem tough if it didn't, then there would just be too much gray area, what can you see, what can't you see?
Right, exactly, so,
Well, we
so
do
like,
call out what, like, that past, I guess that was last month,
Last
where
month,
he
yeah.
came in and he was like, couldn't see from the street. I mean, we called it out as such.
right,
So we
and-
do take that into account.
exactly, so it's certainly a factor to consider, and again, if the HGC on a case-by-case basis feels comfortable giving more leniency on certain things that are side and rear elevations or that are out of view of public right away, you know, it's completely reasonable and, yeah, totally fine, but again, it's still something that we're gonna require applications for, and we're gonna bring to the HGC. The only thing that is, you know, specifically called out as not needing, review is if it's a non-contributing structure that is out of view of the public right-of-way and they are doing replacement in kind,
Yeah.
that'll just be a staff approval. So, you know, that way, you know, we don't have to bring a non-contributing building and someone's replacing the same window on a house that you can't see. You know, we take care of that on a staff level, but everything else will come to the HGC.
Great, thanks, Kevin.
Yep.
Cool. All right, if there's no other comments or issues this evening, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen.